What up, TikTok? Hey, hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hey, don't let anything that's negative in your life dictate the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Hey, we all go through some hard times. We all go through some emotional stressors, maybe at work, maybe at home, whatever it may be. Don't let that dictate who you are and how you react to the rest of the things that life throws at you. Does that make sense? Like if you're feeling pissed off and angry all morning or all day, you're going to take that energy and you're going to present it to everybody else that surrounds you, your loved ones, your soldiers, whoever it may be. You're going to use that negative energy and it's just going to make everything worse. Try to be positive. Pick something positive in life that's going really well. Use that positive energy and let that dictate the rest of your day. We can harp on the negatives. We can harp on the bad things that are going on in life. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help us move forward. Stay strong, keep pushing, drive on. Happy Friday.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you're doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. Ready to go.
So, I'm walking out of the gas station and my co-worker, who's an old MP, but we still claim him, and has engaged the man in conversation. Not much for conversation with strangers, but he's got the tab. So, as I walk by, I say airborne, and the man responds with, and I quote, "Hoorah." So, after I instructed my co-worker to slash every single tire before he put the car in gear, I looked for the biggest rock. As I crow-hopped to throw it through his back window so he can stop posing as one of us, I actually wake up and realize that the man's ignorance had incapacitated me for a moment, and I was daydreaming. I mean, because in that moment you got two options. I chose the third option and said, "Incorrect. That's an incorrect response." And I kept walking. The man said nothing and he pulled away. So you tell me, what is it, a stolen valor thing? No Marine's gonna have an airborne tab, and no paratrooper's gonna say hidden hoorah. So you tell me, stolen valor?
Hey, y'all, I'm going to work. I left you a note on the refrigerator. I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Hey, go get dressed. Get ready for school.
You're doing great. We're just tooling around, tooling along. Shit! Bad guy! Stop!
Let me break it down Barney style.
Today's show is brought to you by the Farkas Group at the Veterans Mortgage Source. Are you looking for a team you can trust for your mortgage needs? The Farkas Group is our trusted partner on the podcast. I serve with Zach, and he will definitely give you the best rate possible. Their goal is to educate veterans across the country on their earned VA home loan benefit. If you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, reach out to these guys for competitive rates or any information you may need on obtaining a VA mortgage for your property. They are licensed in multiple states. If they are not licensed in the state that you live in, they will still give you the advice that you need and the rates you should be looking for.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, Joe, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
happy Saturday. Welcome to episode 72 of the Trash Talk Hour. Shout out to our sponsor, Zach Farkas with the Veterans Mortgage Source. You can check him out at Zach Farkas at VMSloans.com. 10th Mountain Whiskey, Buddy's favorite. Check them out at 10thwhiskey.com. Type in VTT and get yourself a discount. Happy Place Hemp. Check them out at elevatedhempsolutions.com. And special guest today is Clifford. I think he's like a warrant officer or something. So they do exist. They do exist. We spotted one. And today I'm joined by Nick, Buddy, and Joe. Over to you, Buddy. I read the script.
Buddy, what's in the glass, buddy, before you start?
But this, it's just a glass of cordial. Not a huge deal, guys.
Just a 16, just a pint of cordial.
16-ounce glass of cordial.
Yeah. That's good. Pint on ice.
It's going to be fun.
That's the new Buddy Beckwith right there. A pint on ice.
That's it's a mixed drink, guys. It's cordial mixed with ice.
There it is.
Not a huge deal.
A tall one too. That's a tall one.
That's the good thing about cordial, though. It goes down smooth and it tastes delicious.
I like the
automatically
pinky.
Raises
pinky. That's pinky out, buddy.
Anything called cordial, you gotta
be nice.
it up a little bit.
You gotta treat it like a gentleman.
Yeah. You gotta church it up some. So I got a couple honesty caps this week.
Ooh, that's good.
One of them, I try to stay away from the news. I really do, because it bugs me every time I watch it. But I screwed around this week and I watched a little bit of the news. And of course, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is all over the news. And then not only is it all over the news, it's all over Instagram and Facebook and all these people posting, all these celebrities with their opinion about Kyle Rittenhouse's testimony, the kid that didn't even have to testify at all. And basically, as far as legally, the case is pretty much settled. I mean, when the person that had the gun said, "Oh yeah, I had a gun. I'm just not that guy that would use it." Well, that's like being a 5-year-old and carrying a condom around in your pocket. If you're not going to use it, and you're not going to use it, there's no reason to carry it. That being said,
perfect analogy.
I've noticed that a lot of I probably should watch it.
The judges will take it. It counts.
Yeah, should be a lawyer.
Yeah. That being said,
close the argument.
Right there.
Put a condom in your back pocket.
Chuck Norris gives it.
Thumbs up. Thanks. What I have noticed is that everybody and their brother is on. They're making fun of this kid on Instagram. They're making fun of this kid on the news. They're talking about his testimony where the kid breaks down. And the thing that struck me, and especially that's relevant to us on this show and people that are dealing with veterans and PTSD and people that have had to kill people before, is there's a lot of people that have never had to carry a gun, use a gun, or shoot anybody. Whether they're right, wrong, indifferent, doesn't matter. They're all talking about this kid's testimony. Well, the way those people treat this 18-year-old kid who, shot and killed, two people and
two pedophiles,
shot one that was just baller in the middle of a magazine change, and he pops him in the arm. God. Anyway.
So sexy.
Hey, he played a lot of Call of Duty, man. He played a lot of Call of Duty.
Buddy, this is your attempt to get back at the news.
They brought that up in the trial. But the other part that is annoying me is all of these grown-ass people, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, that are making fun of this kid for breaking down in the middle of the trial and crying and having issues with what he was forced to do. That's how they're going to treat you. That's how they look at PTSD. That's how they look at people that have done things that they haven't done. They can talk about how they feel bad and thank you for your service and all this other bullshit. But what they say and the way they act are two completely different things. And you have to watch the way people act. And watching the way these people act, if people don't remember what they say, how they treat a fucking 18-year-old kid who all he did was protect himself. There's nothing
and property.
And the people that he shot were lighting dumpsters on fire, pushing them against buildings. They were not only putting people's property, but people's lives in jeopardy. And because this kid stood up at 17, which I don't know if you've looked at your recruiter's manual lately, but you could join the Army at 17.
I did.
This stood up for what he thought was right and
With
protected
parental
himself.
consent. With parental
Yeah,
consent.
He stood up for what he had parental consent to go there too. But he stood up for what he thought was right. And not only did he stand up for what he thought was right, he had the training apparently to do the job well. And he protected countless numbers of people who were at risk from these people that are running around, burning, breaking, hurting other people. I mean, they didn't have any problems with hurting him. They didn't have any problems with him getting smashed with a skateboard or a dude with a gun running up and, whether he was that guy or not. Well, he didn't have time to ask him if he was really that guy. You pull a gun, it's the same thing about when we're in combat. I almost got shot by a 10-year-old. Time you start pulling up guns, you've entered big boy areas. Like that's a big boy game, and those rules are a little bit different. Those rules are real final. You pull a gun, you're gonna get shot. But like I said, the thing that's bugged me is the way that people, treat them, the memes, the gifs, all that other stuff. And to be honest, if you're a person who talks about PTSD, talks about veterans issues, talks about suicide, talks about all the other stuff, and you're a person that's sending those around because you think that they're funny and it's dark humor, like, things are funny, but there are second and third order effects to all that stuff. You're just making yourself look bad, and you're creating an environment that you're not going to get the help that you need, because if you break down and you start crying, you're going to be a meme or a gif, or if you show some real emotion, you're screwed.
Yeah, but that's a great point, buddy. And I want to play devil's advocate for just a sec. Like his emotional breakdown, something about it, man. It felt like your message, buddy, 100%, but I don't feel like it was really authentic from the kid. Like we talked about this the other night, Joe.
Dave and I talked about it.
He doesn't know. He said he's playing devil's advocate.
He seemed like he was a touch coached.
Yep.
But you can't fake all of that. But he does seem like they told him, "Hey, if you got."
And buddy, I agree with the message behind what you're trying to say, but I do think,
buddy, I shared a meme today when he wasn't crying on the bench, but it was Alec Baldwin calling him, saying, "Hey, just tell him you thought they were blanks." Is that okay?
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out.
Hey, Nick called him kid fuck around.
And then let me throw one more thing in there, because I think the kid needs to, he's good to go. But like, for any of you on this panel, if your 17-year-old son wanted to go over there with his AR, would you let him? Just serious question.
No.
Would you let him be there?
Well, one thing you find out in the trial that they kept saying that he had no business being there. We didn't find out his father actually lived there.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that we're not.
That's a whole other thing. We're not trying to get into this. There's some.
Dave, if my property was under possible attack by rioters and thugs, my kid would be walking around with
100%. But that wasn't. I don't think that was his. That wasn't his property though.
Send them.
Well,
but hey, buddy,
this is my section. Shut up.
Go ahead, buddy. Sorry.
But here's the thing. I know for a fact that when we had the same issues here in the town that I live in, I loaded up my stuff and went down to, ironically enough, one of the black SF guys who has a house downtown, and three of us sat on his front porch with a shotgun, pistol, and an AR-15, and waited for the rioters. That being said, if my son was 17 and trained, he would have been sitting on the porch with us.
Yeah, we have seen the video. He is trained.
And I agree with that. I've taught my kids how to shoot, and you have too as well.
Yeah,
Father of the year in Alabama, like
5 years in a row, Alabama.
5 years in a row. So I get all that. If it was like, if I was there and everything, I'm just saying, if my son was going out of state to like be, I wouldn't want him to go without me.
Yeah, I don't want him to go find trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's look at St. Louis or Kansas City and Kansas City, Missouri. Basically the same town. There's a line that runs through it. To say he was out of state.
Yeah, he's like Milwaukee.
He lives in Kenosha.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's not like he loaded up on a bus of vandals and drove there. And that's another group of people.
That was them.
The only charge that he could be facing is the gun charge, right? Like bringing it across, whatever, They're
not gonna charge him with that because to be honest, they'll charge him, but they won't find him guilty with that because the far-reaching repercussions of that are that if you live if your yard is on one side of the state, you can't walk the other side of your yard with a gun. Like it just doesn't. And we can't. Like, how are we going to say that borders are just imaginary lines and then scream about him carrying a gun across an imaginary line?
It's also the way he transported it, apparently, and you can't prove that anyway. You know, like,
buddy,
yeah.
Buddy, I've been waiting to caveat, and I got 2 points. I got 2 points off what you said.
It's a great topic. Go ahead.
And Dave said we're not going to get into it. Well, I will. Let's talk about the one thing the news isn't saying, and I'll say it right now for all of us. I got babies. He took a guy off the planet that hurt kids. Yep. They want to act like that's not real. It's the worst crime in the world you commit. They want to act like these people that he killed were these innocent victims. Well, that guy will never hurt a kid again.
Yeah,
so
even the Bible says there's one thing that you can't do that God will never forgive you for, and that's hurt children.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, well, I'm going to caveat off your caveat.
So, Kim, he's
my
dead.
caveat.
You know,
except if you're Catholic.
Triple caveat. I'm going to triple caveat.
They didn't hurt them.
But yeah.
I don't know that a triple caveat's ever been done.
The fact is, the world is one less child rapist. Like, I'll have a coat.
Yep.
Like, I'm good. Like, what are you so pissed about? Not only is it a child rapist free, but it's also like that guy. They have videos of him before threatening to hurt him, threatening to kill him, asking him to go shoot me. You know what I mean? He was definitely, for a rapist to be asking for it. He was asking for it.
Yeah.
Is it wrong to get a kick out of that, where the guy's like, "Hey, go ahead and shoot me," and the kid's like, "I'm your Huckleberry." And
that's
the last mistake he'll ever make. But it was a good one.
Open a laundromat. Like there's the fact that he asked for it and the kid shot him at some point. The fact that a minor blew the brains off of a freaking child rapist is
awesome.
Like irony everywhere.
And he could have killed a lot more, and he didn't. You know, so that's what I like about him. Like the shots that he did fire were all in protection.
They were all threatening.
Like he got hit with a fucking skateboard, you know, and then the one dude had a pistol and came towards him, and he did what he had to do. You know, he had opportunities to shoot way more.
People that butthurt about cops like shooting people, and they're like, "Why did you just shoot him in the leg?" He shot that idiot Gage guy in the fucking arm. He looked at the gun, or he looked at the rifle. You can tell that he was target fixated on the rifle or the pistol instead of the dude. Because if he was target fixated on the dude, he would have center mashed that dude right in his fucking chest.
100%.
He was looking at the pistol, shot. I guarantee he was target fixated on the pistol, and the bullet lead hit him in the fucking forearm. That's because he was moving. But the fact is, like,
real quick, the chat said, right. "Why is the guy with the stash weighing in on molestation?"
Oh no!
Wonderful. Hey, give that guy a discount.
Whoever that guy.
Joshua Petty was asking that question. Yeah, I think we know Josh.
Top comment. Top comment.
Hey, tell him to message to Big Earl. I'll take care of him. I got something.
We know Josh.
Top comment.
That's a good one, Josh. Thanks for tuning in.
Second honesty cap.
It's your third one.
No, it's the second. The first one was the Kyle.
He's a triple caveat, double cap.
Triple this week, but
double cap, triple caveat.
So I talked about at the beginning of the show. So my ex-wife is here in town, staying at the house with my with all of us in one house. My girlfriend is coming up later. And I always say that to say one thing. There's in the veteran community, there's definitely a lot of disgruntled divorcees that are like, I'm never gonna like that bitch and this, that, and the other. Like at some point, we have to take our ego out of our divorces and our bad relationships and realize that A, we had a little bit of a part in our bad relationship, and B, at some point, especially if you have kids, they're still the father of your kids, and they're still the mother of your kids, and you should treat them with respect. And when they come in, you should, don't talk shit about your freaking ex-wife in front of your kids. Don't talk shit about your ex-husband in front of your kids. Don't weaponize your kids, and get over yourself and do what's right to raise kids that are going to be productive members of society, and not kids that are fucked up by a divorce that you and your ex-wife or ex-husband have. Anyway,
the beautiful
hashtag
point.
blended family. Yeah. I'm kind of doing the same thing.
Grow the fuck up.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Great point.
Hashtag you're hurting your kids.
Yeah.
By doing it. You're only damaging them, and you're only teaching them that that's okay to say about her. You know, and you know, if you want your kid to have respect, you should show respect. I'm divorced, done the blended family thing twice. And yeah, you 100% leave your problems with your ex or with your significant other out of it when the kids are in the room, because it's just, honestly, it's pretty tasteless. And like Buddy said, you got to grow up, man, because the kids hear that stuff.
It means the world to the kids. Yeah,
it's contagious, man.
Yeah, well, you know, you start talking shit about your ex, or you start talking shit about who they're in a relationship with, or whatever. Well, now you're forcing kids to choose a side between one of their parents, and that means that you're a piece of shit. Like, you're fucked up. And in fact, if you really want to dig down deep, if you're the type of person that's doing that, well, there's probably a reason you're divorced, and that's probably one of those reasons.
Yeah, we've done summer vacations together. You know, shout out to my ex Amy.
I just did a vacation with my ex-wife and her husband.
Yeah, we're going to Disney this Christmas. Ex-wife, my fiance, the kids.
Dave, don't take too much credit, because I would go to Disney or Virginia Beach with you too, no matter how much I hated you.
No, it is great, man. It means a lot to the kids. You know, it makes a difference, buddy.
Well, you know, great point is my son's 17. He's from a blended family. My wife and I have been together since he was 4. You know, and as time goes on, those kids get older, they realize the lies that were told, you know, becomes truth. And so you got to be careful. And I would like to say that, you know, we tried that relationship with Junior's mom, and she just wasn't having it. And then, you know, I got full custody of him when he was 11. And, you know, you kind of hear things and what went on, and you try to do the right thing, and the other half doesn't. But that doesn't mean you ever stoop to their level. You know, you always keep it up. And like Junior figured out that all the shit that his mom was telling him wasn't the truth.
It's incredible, because Buddy,
because of that. The big point that you make, Cliff, is that you don't stoop to their level. Like, they're going to do what they're going to do. You can't control that anyway. Take the high.
And let me also say, I'm divorced and remarried. I forgot the remarried part, but you know, in the divorce, my ex, she, you know, and I'm not gonna go in on it, but she didn't always play fair, and the weaponizing of the kids was something that happened. And bro, honestly, all I can say is I really wish it never did, because it kind of put that in his head, and now he gets to the point where he's too involved in adult conversations because he thinks that he's allowed to. And man, buddy, the one thing I take off of that more than anything else is we are not allowing kids to be kids anymore. Like, they're way too involved in adult issues. You know, we talked about this.
Hurry up and grow up.
Well, he's only 8. Were together this weekend, and we were talking about, like, stop sexualizing kids too.
Yeah, my 7-year-old identifies.
We didn't talk about that stuff when I was a kid, or whether you were gay or straight or identified. Like, quit making them investigate their bodies and figure out who they're attracted to when they should be playing t-ball.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to pour a 2-liter of knowledge into something that's got a shot glass of rum, and right.
Yeah, you're right, Cliff. Yeah.
Well, Joe, I've had that conversation a couple times. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and
so you are officially not cool right now, right?
Times. Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm the biggest dumbass, and I'm from Alabama, and I'm a white guy, so I'm just
15 to 18-year-old kids are the coolest and smartest. Just ask them.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
But, that's how I introduce you. People are like, "Hey, who's that buddy guy?" I'm like, he's the racist from Alabama.
I am. That's what they're told by their friends and their teachers and everybody else, is that if you're from Alabama and you're a white dude, you must be a racist. It doesn't matter.
Science and black people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you got friends or relatives. Whatever.
Yeah, but you know, now they're redefining white supremacy, right? Did you hear this with the Virginia elections? Now it's white supremacy if
white
you're
women,
white, but it's also
women.
white black supremacy if you're a black person and you support conservative ideas, and then so on. So
in Virginia, they blamed white women.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't matter who you are. If you don't fit their narrative, they're going to label you something that takes away your credibility.
Yep.
Sure.
Well,
that's why I don't watch the news.
Right? That's what I was going to caveat off of Joe. What you were saying about sexualizing kids is we're making them choose a label at 8, 9, 10 years old.
Disgusting.
And then
it's
when
so
they
fucking
choose,
wrong, man.
Well, here's the problem. When they choose a label, first of all, they don't know any of that shit yet. They don't know the difference between a friendship or being in love with somebody. My football coach used to say, you boys don't know love other than cheeseburgers and milkshakes. And he was right. Like, that's the only thing that you love at that point is damn food of some sort or some sort. But we make them choose those labels, so they've got to be gay or bi or trans or whatever. Well,
or even political label.
Right. That one's just as bad almost, Nick.
Yeah. Well, what happens when they start to see, well, I don't really feel that way. Well, now if they try to change that label, they're also a liar. And their friends are that, so they're worried about losing their friends. They're worried about all this other shit that this should have never been lumped on them anyway. There's not enough people saying, "Hey, just fucking take a deep breath, slow your roll, and be a kid for a little bit.
Yeah, go have fun
and have friends." And then at some point it's going to hit you. Like I'm not my daughter, when she was probably 10, used to say that she was the only straight person in her friend group. Well, around 11 or 12, she decided that she was gay. Okay, well, I don't care. Like, here's the thing. I don't have to face the consequences of any of those. Actually, it doesn't bother me. I don't care if you're gay or straight or whatever. Like, I don't have to suck the dick. You know what I mean?
If you're a good person, you're a good person.
Don't stop being my kid, and we're good.
Straightforward, buddy, but that's good.
Okay, fine. But I was telling her, I was like, you need to just slow down and don't put a label on yourself. Well, we're at 16, and the only real relationship we've had have been the 2 relationships that she had with boys. And I was like, I asked her one day, I was like, well, how does that work? Like, if you're gay but you only date boys, and she was like, well, I guess I'm bi. And I was like, it's so sad that they had to put themselves in a label or in that label, and now they can only shift so far to the right or so far to the left. But if they jump out of that, and they're all making those labels when they don't have to have any consequences for those labels. They just get the benefit, and then because you can't tell me shit. I'm gay. Like, my opinion is already worth more than yours. You know what I mean? And then when they do have to face those consequences, where they find that they're not attracted to what they labeled themselves at, then they have to figure out how to work out of the situation that honestly society put them in. They didn't put themselves in that situation.
Yeah, the news, and then the news, like my old buddy, old Vlad Dudier with CBS, was like, "How come they think this way?" I'm like, "Cause you guys tell them to."
Yeah,
like that's you guys.
That's being woke.
Media.
Anyway, that's my long ass honesty cap.
No, it's good. It turned into a lot of different angles.
It's lovely.
Well, I would tell you that the election in Virginia was more about teaching critical race theory and the way these school boards are teaching parents and stuff, and parents are tired of it, they're sick of it, they're not going to tolerate it no more. And in Virginia,
they're not
they
teaching, though, Cliff. They're dictating. They're not teaching.
They are dictating.
They're
and one thing
and dictating.
They are. And one thing COVID taught parents is they need to pay attention to what they're teaching in school, because for years they didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, you hear those Zoom meetings. I would stop and go, "What did that teacher just say?" And then
I walked by my son's bedroom and heard the teacher walk back in. I said, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
And my dad and Junior, he's like, that's just how she is. I just, in one ear out the other, whatever. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And the parents are just getting sick and tired of it, because these kids shouldn't be subjected to that. Junior's in his last year at high school, and he'll go on. But we put our small Lloyd, a 7-year-old, in private school because of it. We weren't going to have him be a part of that, and we had that choice. We were able to do it, but a lot of parents don't have that, able to make that choice.
Right. And that's what I went.
That's the problem.
I yelled at the Canutillo school board. I went there and I was like, when you did this shutdown for stupid reasons, like, I could take care of my kids. Like, I had the money, the job, like the leeway, the leadership that allowed me to do what I needed to do. But how many families like broke up, lost money, lost jobs, kids got fatter, what you guys did? And because the one lady's like, I was getting death threats. So I was like, yeah, because you probably fucked a lot of lives. Right. Yeah. And like,
who was this, Nick, that was saying they were getting death threats?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The school board. The school board's like, we were getting death threats. And I was like, yeah, that's wrong. But think about why they're doing that. Think about what pushed them to that thought was that their whole life went to shit because you guys were like, what? Like that, yeah, exactly. But sorry,
I hate to say it. Yeah.
Buddy,
Hey,
great. That was great.
I
That
wanted
was a
to
great
tell you
honesty
when-
cap, man.
You know, when COVID hit
Thanks, Joe.
last year and all these schools were shutting down, my older brother, he's a superintendent in Missouri at a school system, and he never shut his schools down. He kept them open because he says it's more important for the kids to go to school than not.
The CDC
kudos
said
to
it
him.
was safer.
Kudos to him. He kept his school open and he got hell from it. But science and time proved that he was right. And that was the right decision. And there was a couple of times that, COVID cases kind of got high and he thought he'd have to shut places down, but he never did. And he stuck with it.
Yeah, because the superintendent and the school board's job is not to protect the community; it is to protect the kids. So if you make decisions to protect the community, that's not your job. You're not even anywhere near the education level or qualifications to protect the community, right? Like,
Hey, whoa. Hold up, Nick. The principal at my daughter's school a few years ago had a doctorate in leadership.
most of them have
she is a
doctorates, but
doctor.
They all have to have
Yes.
doctorates.
yeah,
And
and
she was also the same principal that when I went to her office to complain about
I trust
a note that my
a
daughter
professional
got.
educator. I trust a person with a PhD in some form of administration of education to make the right decisions for schools, right? Not
This
for
one,
the
this
community.
one made
My brother
made all
was
the
20
wrong
years in the
decisions, and
guard.
when I-
So
Then when I said something about it, by the way, she has a PhD in leadership, and she was like, "Well, I'm not responsible for that." And I was like, "It happened in your school." And she said, "Well,
Right.
I'm not responsible for that." And I was like, "Well, you're the head of the school, right?" I think leadership 101 is that you're responsible for all
It's an
the
accountability thing.
Sure.
They always want to pass
you
the
have-
buck.
You're
man.
responsible for all
Yeah.
the failures and all of the successes of your.
Not to
school.
mention all the
So-
shitty stuff that happened to these kids. Linda mentioned in the chat here in Vegas, the suicide rate went up in ages 9 through 14-year-olds.
That's
It is.
9 kids in
No,
a matter
no,
of
it
months.
didn't. Yeah, but
It's
that's the thing, though,
mind-numbingly
Dave.
insane.
It
That's
didn't
that.
go up. It skyrocketed.
Yeah, just
Yes,
like
it did.
obesity.
Yeah.
Obesity skyrocketed.
Nick, you want to
3%.
explain those death threats again after that point? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about all the
I watched-
kids that were
look, I don't-
abused
I
that
don't-
used school to get away from their home, and now
I
they're
don't
at
like
home
to
with,
say it
Yeah.
about my own because I
But
did
no
the best
break,
that I
yeah.
could.
Yeah,
But
no break.
I watched my kids deteriorate. I watched their personalities be stagnated. They got out of shape. They absolutely hated sitting. You cannot put a kid in front of a computer screen
No.
and say, sit down and retain everything. They
Not a 7-year-old or 8-year-old.
You know what the
can't
teaching
do it.
you
system
can't.
in North Carolina
You can't
called
do
it? There was a superintendent that I was friends with of a kindergarten or whatever the top level is there of. It was a preschool, not kindergarten. But he said, we just call this the wasted year,
Yeah.
the lost year.
Yeah.
'Cause- yeah.
Well, and Lloyd, his private school last year, they went to school full time. They didn't have any issues. So luckily he was in school the whole time. But the effect that it had on the kids, it was uncalled for and stupid. I'm just going to say it was for political reason, and that was the only way.
100% it was. They wanted, and then
Get it in the worst shape as possible so you can.
my
point
wife,
at the
she's a
big bad
nurse
orange
in the
man.
Navy, and we didn't coddle our kids. We didn't hunker down. We still we still lived our lives as normally as we would, as best as we could.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
a
didn't make him
cold-
fear. We didn't make him any of that. We still had
Yep.
friends that had the same thoughts and beliefs, and they all came over to the house, and the kids played and did what they needed to do, and that's how we did it. That was our choice. We can make that choice as Americans, and that was my choice.
Damn right.
There you go. There you go.
And nobody's going to tell me how to do my kids or what I'm going to do in my fucking house. That's just how it is. And I don't care. I was in the military for 34 years, so you ain't going to do anything that I hadn't fucking seen or done. So whatever.
Cliff, your verbiage speaks my language. Truth.
Just don't write it out because he can't read it.
Shut up, Nick.
No, it's your turn, Joe. You get to talk
All right,
now.
I'm ready to go. So in the script, Nick said, Joe, show us how much of a veteran you are. So I thought, all right. Sometimes I try to go off what he says, and even if he's making fun of me, I mean, that's where Trigger Joe came from.
Yeah.
I just said, all right, well, if you can call me that, I'll just call myself that. Rock and roll. So here we go. Am I allowed to talk about what we did the last 3 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
for the
out.
last 3 days, I've been with these. Well, Dave came in and came out, but last 3 days.
I was in a movie
Whoa,
called
in New
wait,
Orleans.
hold up.
Yeah.
Dave came out?
Shh.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Dave
Yeah.
finally came out?
Don't let this thing turn into a dumpster fire.
Don't get excited, buddy. All
Sentence.
right, I'll show everybody your
No,
text
so we
messages
went-
when you
we went
text
down
me
to
when
New
you're drunk.
Orleans. We went down to New Orleans to see this picture that we were lucky to be a part of, and absolute incredible experience. But we were first time we were together on Veterans Day, and so I thought Nick wants a veteran soapbox. Let's do a little AAR. Okay, so Nick and I show sustains. Okay, I like the fact that Nick and I are so rooted in our paratrooper background that when we got to the airport in New Orleans, we walk out, right? He waited on me. I met him at the lounge, the Fancy Pants Lounge, and we had a couple of drinks. We walk out. There's 1,000 people outside. They're waiting on maybe not 1,000, but it was at least 500.
It was easily 1,000.
Yeah. Well, the line for Uber was like 400 people, right?
Taxi's 1,000. Uber was 400.
The airborne in us looked around, and I said something to Nick, and Nick said, you know what? It'd probably be cheaper if we walked across the street. I said, let's shoot an azimuth. So we freaking walked off the property, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's set way back. So we walked about a half a mile off the airport property down a dark.
It's at New Orleans Airport.
Yeah, down a dark road,
there,
and parked up next to a chop shop on foot with our bags and called an Uber. And so
$45 cheaper.
The sustainability is our resilience that we weren't so freaking lazy that we just stood in line and waited on a freaking Uber. We actually walked off the property, ordered one, had it there in 20 minutes and paid $40 less. So
I never heard banjos.
Definitely a sustain. Improve. Okay. You're going to enjoy this one, boys. Dave, I wish you could have been there for it because I think I got my whole leg in my mouth, not just my foot.
Oh, all that's great.
Hey, hang on. I'm going to get there. So we just did, Cliff, I'll catch you up on the people that are watching. We just had two of our coworkers go to Applebee's for Applebee's doing the, recognizing the military Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on their show, so I was tracking and talking to them since I've been on their show. So yeah.
So the night we get there, our friend Sam picks us up, and I'll say Applebee's the way he does in Vietnamese. Applebee's. He's like, you guys good with that? We're like, yeah, let's go to Applebee's. Mm-hmm. So we go out, have a few drinks, whatever, catch up, great. Go back to drink about a half a bottle of Buffalo Trace and go to bed. The next day, Nick and I decided, hey, it's the first time for everything. We're hitting every single place that feeds us for free while we can.
Two breakfasts.
Yeah, we did a warm-up breakfast, then doubled it up at Denny's. Then after I don't know, a long breakfast, I think we went back to the hotel room for a minute with the other Dave and Chris.
We had to clear it out, Navy veteran.
Yeah, when we ran back over to Chili's. Okay. So we're having a good time. We're getting 3 or 4 beers in. Everybody's having fun. The general manager of the place kept coming by and checking on us. And so I proceed to give him a speech about how we thought it was fantastic that Applebee's wanted to recognize the soldiers, and we just had such a great experience at Applebee's. And Nick's sitting there, and if you know Nick, he's got the calculated like he's holding a straight flush. Hang on, so he's holding a straight flush. Nick's just staring at me. Table full of people. General manager's waiting for the fucking punchline, right? All right, he's sitting there, and I look over at Nick, and Nick just like this goes, "We're at Chili's, bud." Look, Dave, I can do Nick. Ready for this? He goes, "We're at Chili's." Oh. I look at the manager and I say, well, let me get a drink of this beer to get my foot out of my mouth. I sound like a real asshole. So I literally sat there and told him how great Applebee's was while we were at Chili's. So improve situational awareness.
Improve situational awareness.
But see, that's like a double whammy because it's an improve on my part, but it's sustain on Nick's. I mean, he really let me wear it. That was a good one. Well played.
Yeah, I let
he
him
could have
go for
stopped me at any time. He was like, "No, I'm gonna let him roll." This is gonna be much better if I just let him keep talking. But so now that we got the laughs out of the way, I was listening to this. It was kind of a motivational speech, but it was about a fighter named Buster Douglas. I'm sure most of us know who he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're the first guy to knock Tyson out.
Yeah,
that is correct. He is the only man in the history of boxing to be knocked out by Mike Tyson and get up. Almost had a 10 count, man. There's like, he got up, he's wobbling, and you hear that 4, 3, 2, 1, ring the bell. And we're like, oh, that's it. He's done. Saved by the bell. Tyson's going to come out in the second round or next round and just hammer him. It's over. So Tyson comes out. He thinks he's got it wrapped. And all of a sudden, and he's got Buster Douglas on the ropes. And the speech was basically about, like, a lot of you are on the ropes. A lot of you been on the ropes, or life will put you there, put your back up against the wall. And he said, I need you to do what Buster Douglas did. Fight back. Start fighting back. And and the whole world goes crazy. Goliath has fallen. And they asked Buster Douglas, like, how did you do it? And he said, it's quite simple. Before the fight, my mom told everybody I was going to knock out Mike Tyson. That was the only thing that she was talking about. 2 days before the fight, my mom died. I was not gonna let that promise go unfulfilled to my mother. And what the speech says basically is his why was greater than that punch. He was prepared to die. He gave everything he had, and it was the biggest upset in the history of the heavyweight division. And it was simply because he decided, I'm not gonna just roll over. This guy's gonna have to kill me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is how that applies to the veteran life and what we talk about getting out and transition and all that other stuff. If your why isn't greater than the things in front of you, you're going to get your ass kicked. You got to have a why that's more important. My why is my wife doesn't ever have to work again. My why is so my kids can go to whatever school they want, even though I'm a Purple Heart veteran, they're going to do that anyways. But, I look at them and I know that the crowning achievement of my life is being a father to those kids. It's something I take very seriously. And my why is to provide a life that, say, my cousin, who I'm at his house, beautiful house, older than me, was like an older brother. My why is to emulate that, move from where we're at to something bigger, make it so my wife never has to work again and have financial freedom. So, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but I tell you what, it cures a lot of fucking headaches. And if you're already happy with your life and you have that freedom, it can be a beautiful thing. So, that's my why. Give them a better life. And we've steadily been improving since we started. And for the last 3 years, it's just been, sometimes you want to sprint a marathon and you can't. You see that finish line and you beat the shit out of yourself every day because you're not there yet. But man, if you do that, you don't enjoy the ride. And if life's got you up against the wall, be like Buster Douglas and just fight back. And you'll never know unless you try. And who knows, maybe you knock out Goliath, maybe you become a millionaire, but you'll never be able to if your why is not bigger than those reasons. So that's all I got, Nick.
As I go out and I do my speaking events, as somebody who suffers from PTSD and a suicide survivor, that's one thing I talk about people a lot is you need to find your why. And
Dave did a video about that too, right? Dave?
I did. Yep.
And you got to find that reason to want to wake up in the morning, right? Because I know what it is not to want to do that. I get that. I went from A and as close to Z as you can get without completing, because thank God my brother found me. If he didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here. That it's you just got to find that, and it's hard and it's tough. Everybody wants to say it's easy going, but when you have PTSD and those triggers hit you, they could hit you right now today. I will tell you that when I listened to that Rittenhouse on the stand and he was giving his testimony, the tone in his voice when he talked about certain things, you can tell that deeply affected him. However anybody wants to define it. And as anybody as a veteran, he's been to combat, he's been to war, he said something traumatic happened in their life. Anything can trigger that. You could be walking out in the woods and a stick could break and make a certain sound and you're right back there. And I tell people it's the most vivid dream you've ever had that automatically flashes back in your life. And I remember I was at work one day, and yes, I was a warrant officer, and I did go to work one day. And I was talking to a colonel friend of mine. He was late for a meeting, right? He didn't come in. He was never late for work. And I said, hey, what's going on? And of course, a lot of people at my work know what I did, and I've been doing speaking events for a long time. And he brought me in the office and closed the door. And he was driving to work, and a rock from a truck in front of him kicked up and hit his windshield. And it reminded him of something that happened to him in Iraq. And he got so freaked out, he pulled over the side of the road and couldn't fucking drive. Had to call his wife to come get him. But that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And that's, people don't want to bring that up and talk about that though. But when you're in that place and you're having those issues and problems, it's that real and that live to you. And somebody doesn't really understand that's never been through that, right? So they want to say, oh, well, you're weak-minded, or well, you're selfish, or you're this. No, it's not. I'm fucking me, right? And so when I have issues and problems, they're personal to me. People say all the time about suicide, and sorry, I'm going to go on a rant here, that it's a selfish act, or it's this, or the Army wants to train to try to fix the problem with ACE and all this. The issue is that when somebody gets down to that point where they no longer want to live. And that goes against every single cell of your fucking body. That's deep and personal to you, right? And I don't know what triggered me that night when I was at my brother's house in December in 2002, drinking, and I didn't want to live with the guilt of not finding anybody at the Pentagon 9/11, because that was one of my triggers. And I took 22 sleeping pills and laid down on the couch. I would have fucking died. My brother, who's a nurse in Kansas City, got a funny feeling at work and called. I didn't answer the phone. He immediately left work and came home.
Hey, Cliff,
and saved my
is
life.
that something you still talk about, or do you keep the Pentagon close to the chest? Do you speak about it?
I talk about it. When I go out,
would you be okay explaining it to us for the people who haven't seen you? Because I honestly got chills.
Yeah, we can roll right into it. Usually, Nick will introduce the guest, but let's go, Cliff. Let's go.
Is there? Did you guys get the link to the Pentagon video that I did?
That's the joke I was going to make before Dave said we had to skip what I wanted to say, because that's usually
Nick,
what you
go.
should do.
You go, Nick.
Yeah,
you guys got that link
so
to video.
I do the due diligence of finding out. I do the due diligence of like actually who our guests are and find out about them, and then I do the extra nicer thing and I send all these guys the info like a freaking week prior. So in the event that they have no idea who you are, it's because they didn't read it. So yes, that's why I introduced it, because hardly anybody watching right now probably knows who the hell Cliff Senior is. Okay, so Cliff,
I'm that guy.
Yeah, it was on the Throat Punch Monday show with our ladies, and Len said you got to talk to this guy, and I was like, yeah, for sure, let's talk to this guy, let's find out who he is. And yeah, when I saw the website of what you do, where you speak, how you speak, the followings you have at the organizations you're a part of, the articles you've written and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, let's get this warrant officer on here, because he didn't make CW5, so he never was able to find one and kill one so he could take his place. But I
will talk about that.
Yeah,
about that.
Other than that, you were someplace that not many people were, and that was at the Pentagon when they got hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where this segues into. So tell us a little bit about your time there when it started, and then how it's transpired after that.
Yeah, so I worked at National Guard.
Is that good, Dave?
They're in Crystal City.
Pretty good, Nick.
And good. And my boss, who was an Air Force colonel, I worked in J6 there in the automations, was late coming into work. He's 10 minutes late. And had he not been 10 minutes late to work, I would have been right where the plane hit. I wouldn't be sitting here. I would have died. But he was late coming into work. And so me and another guy, E6, left the building to head over there, because at that time they were renovating the Pentagon, right? So it was the first out, last back. So the Guard was the first out. That's why we were in Crystal City in a apartment or in an office complex. So we were heading over there when the plane hit. I sent the E6 back to the building and let them know where I was. And then I moved forward with rescue tips until I was command directed to go back to the building. When I went back to the building, I had a good friend of mine who worked for AT&T. We came up with an idea of using a spectrum analyzer to pick up cell phone frequencies. So the next morning, we went back down on site at the Pentagon. And it's kind of funny, Bob will tell you the story, is we had no credentials or no nothing. And we pulled up to the security guard, and I said, I'm Chief Bauman, I'm here, and this is what we're doing. And I said it so confidently, the guard just let us in, had no idea what we're doing. So we got into the Pentagon, and we were actually teamed up with a guy named John. I don't think that was his real name. He worked for an organization with 3 letters. I found out later on. And we would go and work our way around the Pentagon using the spectrum analyzer, and we would pick up a cell phone frequency. I didn't have a family at that time. John would stay out, and I would go in and retrieve the cell phone. But everybody that we had found obviously was deceased. We didn't find anybody alive. But if you ever remember when President Bush came down to the Pentagon on the 12th, and they unfurled the flag off the side of the Pentagon. You guys remember that? If you ever saw a scanned out video, remember the big beam of the Pentagon that had fallen and a pile of rocks on top? We were actually standing on top of those rocks and just got a signal. And I was going in when they dropped the flag off. We had no idea what was going on. They said the president was going to come down, but we didn't want to stop working. And we continued to work all around the Pentagon, worked all around it up until about 18 hours till early morning the 13th when I finally went home. My family for 2 days had no idea if I was alive or dead or what happened to me, because I didn't have no access to phone. funny story about that is as we're going around the Pentagon, it was getting late on the 12th. And so all the different organizations were setting up their command centers, right? You had the FBI Mobile Command Center, you had the NTSB there, and they all were there. And so we came out of the Pentagon, they hadn't found the second black box yet from the plane hitting. And I come out and I go over to the NTSB guys and I said, hey, how much water does that box have to be in to start pinging, right? Because they always say when the plane crashes in the water, that's what it pings. And they said, well, it's got to be in 18 inches of water. I said, well, I've been in 3 foot of water in the Pentagon because it kept catching on fire. So they kept having to dump it. The lady said, oh, we don't have that equipment out there. And then 24 hours later, 36 hours later, they found the black box. So I thought that was interesting. But I remember we had just gone through the corridor, and I'm not going to go in great detail about this, but we went through the 2 corridors. We're between B and C. And I don't know if you ever been into the Pentagon, but you know how the rings go, right? So it's E, D, C, space, B, and then it works its way in. We were between C and B on the back corridor. And that's when the plane hit the Pentagon, the nose detached and acted like a missile, right? That's how you got the half circle going through. And you can imagine all the stuff that was blown through there. And we've been on site now for about 9 hours. I've crawled through all kinds of shit. And so we come around back there and I just crawled back out of the building. And I remember there was a purse laying on the ground in water. And I didn't want it to be, I didn't want it to be ruined for the family, right? And so I pick it up out of the water and I set up on a ledge there. And I remember 2 FBI agents were coming down the corridor in their brand new clean suits and started yelling at me. And I just complete fucking went off on them, and they started yelling and screaming at him. And because, I shit all over me. You're not going to, tell me to do that, something that I thought was a nice gesture. Whether it's here or there, I'm not just disturbing anything. People walk around that place anyway. Anyway, they just trying to walked away. I guess they didn't want to deal with me at that time, but that was just the mindset I was in. But I went home on later the 13th, took my hat, boots, and gloves off, threw them in a box, jumped in the shower, washed all the shit off me. That's when I really got emotional and kind of broke down with everything that I saw and dealt with. Got up the next day and just went on with life, and I was having some issues, but about feeling guilty and not finding anybody alive. But I don't remember which paper it was, the Washington Post, Washington Examiner, one of the papers a year after 9/11 was writing about family members, right? And one of the ladies they had featured in there, I had crawled over half her body. And she had a young son. And that's really what started my downward spiral, as having the nightmares and the dreams and drinking more. As a CW2 at the time. And so obviously my performance at work, I was no longer the happy-go-lucky guy at work. And so one of the guys noticed it and says, Cliff, I think you're having issues. I'm like, I'm not having fucking issues. You got a fucking problem, not me. And so he went and talked to the commander, and I was command directed into counseling. Now, you guys know back then that, you go command directed in counseling, they're going to put you on medical orders for 60 days, and they're going to kick your ass out.
That's your career. Yeah, that's your career.
Right?
You're not getting promoted. Yeah.
No. So I
back
go into
then was
counseling.
way worse than right now, and now
way better now than what it was back then. So I go into counseling, and so what do? I lie to my fucking counselor, right? All I want to do is get this stamp.
You lie to all your doctors and everybody.
Yeah, all my all my girlfriends, everybody. And to just get that stamp to say that I was okay and good and fit to go back to duty. And so I get that. Right. He gives me medications. He's treating my symptoms or whatever. And I get that stamp and I go back to work. But now when I go back to work, I'm more careful about what I do and how I drink at night and what goes on and how I act at work. So I have to cover it up even more. And so, another 8 months goes by, 7 months. And then I'm in Missouri at home at my brother's house. And that's when I attempted. And, when you attempt suicide in Missouri, in most states, you have to go and spend 72 hours in a state-run mental ward, right? So they want to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself again. They're evaluating you and doing that. And, when you're locked in a hospital and you have nothing but a gown on, you're fucking naked underneath it with a whole bunch of other people with all kinds of different issues and problems. And I'm talking all kinds of issues and problems. And you got a mat and you're laying on the fucking floor in a corner. And that's how it was for me during the time I was there. You start realizing that maybe how I was dealing with my problem wasn't the right way, right? And so it was kind of a little wake-up call to me. And so when I get released from the hospital and I travel back to Virginia from Missouri, and Kansas City is where I was at, is I start realizing that I'm going to decide that I'm more important than my career. And so I went back into counseling, and then I was more honest with my counselor about what I was going on and what thoughts and feelings I was having and why I was having it. And he really was more able to treat me, and it just kind of felt like a big, weight being lifted off me. And that was really kind of my start of recovery. One thing I tell people, I get up and I speak about my suicide attempt, PTSD and triggers and stuff that's gone on in my life. And I kind of make it seem like it's easy, but it's not easy. I have good days. I have very bad days. I have days where I'm up late and deep in my own fucking thoughts in my head, but I know where to get to that stopping point. And if I feel like I'm going to go over that, that's when I stop, or when I call somebody, or if I'm going to take that left turn that I don't want to take, because I know what that road goes down. And I always tell people, when you get to that point, don't be like I was at my brother's house. Be brave and be strong and pick up that phone and call somebody, because I wasn't. It damn near cost me my life. I wouldn't have my 2 sons and my wife and everything that I have. I think about all the stuff I would have missed out on had I completed that night. And I was lucky to live. And, fast forward several years later, I was working at headquarters trade op, and I got put in charge of the MRT program, right? We all know what the MRT is, Master Resiliency Training. And so I was at the training at UPenn, and during getting towards the end, Dr. Ivich had heard about my suicide attempt. She asked if I would get up and talk about it. Nobody in the class had really known anything about it. I'm the happy-go-lucky guy that wants to go to the bar every night and drink and play trivia with the uppity college kids and beat them, and run down to the Rocky statue and stuff like that. I'm a big runner. And so I get up and I talk about my suicide attempt. Blows people's minds. They did not see that coming from me. And so I had 6 soldiers at different times, male and female, come up and talk with me afterwards. And 3 of them had attempted suicide before, and nobody knew about it. And so it was after that fact that I thought really I needed to try to do more about speaking out and talk about mental health, and just telling people it's okay not to be okay. And in the military, that's huge. Because not only 34 years in the military, I was in aviation. Aviation's got a huge stigma on top of it, and plus being a warrant officer. So later that year, this was in 2012, VA Make the Connection had their Make the Connection campaign, the Veterans Administration did. And that's when I went and made my first video. But I will tell you that when I went and made that first video, my chain of command didn't support that. They made me take leave. They made me pay my own way to drive to DC. I was at Fort Eustis at the time. DC is about 4 hours away, 3.5 hours. So I thought it was more important. I took leave. I paid for my way to the hotel. I went up and made the first video. At that time, I was the only active duty officer to publicly speak about mental health and suicide and go on to recovery. That was one of their highest grossing videos they had ever had. And that really kind of started my role and path to doing speaking events. Because I think it's important for people to know that you can have issues and problems in your life. You can be really fucked up in the head. I was. But you can also get to be better, and you can go on and have a successful career no matter what it is, whether you're in the military or in a civilian career. You can get better. You can want to see that sunlight again. You want to see the moon at night. I get it, because I didn't want to see either one, right? I didn't want to fucking live no more. That's why I tried to kill myself. So it became important. And so that's why I do what I do. I'm an army of one. My speaking events come from word of mouth. That's how, I round up in you guys' arena. I really appreciate what Veterans Trash Talk does. I've watched several of you guys' episode, and I think it's really something that's needed out there. I think the more we normalize and the more we talk about mental health, PTSD, stigma, and all the things going on, I will tell you that the debacle in fucking Afghanistan, I've got so many calls by corporations to come and speak to their veteran groups because of it, is really sad. But, a lot of veterans are out there hurting, and they're hurting every day. And I completely get it and understand it. And so I'm going to try to help as many as I can before I leave this earth, before it's my time's up. And that's why I do what I do, because I think it's important. And that's why you guys do what you do when you guys decided to come and make Veterans Trash Talk. I think it's important. It's a subject that we need to talk about. And, and I'll just continue to do it.
Yeah, that's like I said, I've read your story and then watched you on the lady show. And when we try to explain to people what it is exactly that we do, a lot of people look at it as if we're the ones doing the therapy or the counseling. And it's like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like we we decided to give that why that Joe was talking about with the Buster Douglas and the promise, because there's a lot of people that don't have a family. There's a lot of people that don't have, an easy why to find. And those guys and girls, it's remember that promise you made in whatever, service you signed up in to the person to the left and right in you. Remember that promise you made? Well, if you, at least in my opinion, if you join the trash talk community, then now your why, if you have nothing else, is to be on that page every day so that when somebody says, hey, I'm dealing with this issue, maybe you can help, right? And maybe you can't. And there's sometimes you get to look like the jerk. Sometimes you're like, hey, I can't help you. Like I got nothing for you on that. But this guy does probably, just hey, put that. We get the messages, and I'm like, put it on the page. I go, put it on the page, and maybe somebody will help you. And then they get all mad at us. It's like, no, seriously, like we don't do anything. Like we're infantry guys, and it's like we're not counselors or whatever. Well, with that being said, we had a colonel on the show who was in charge of a hospital, and he was talking about back in the day to when they had, because of policy, had to flag, write things in medical records about somebody going to, see them about behavioral health. And a lot of them mutinied, they were like, we're not writing that about him.
Yeah.
Like
but they changed the verbiage in it so it doesn't trigger it.
Correct. And it's like, they're like, why would this guy just wants a little bit like to talk to somebody, to get some counseling. And now I have to put something in there to make sure he doesn't see Lieutenant Colonel. It's like why, unless of course it's justified, like this guy's nuts, then you get him out, right? Because you can't command troops, then you take care of them.
What happens is what we see is they just go outside the network, right? And so then you have a commander who has a soldier in his command that completes suicide. First of all, the Army needs to get rid of the zero tolerance policy. And I'm going to explain that here in a second, because I was on the IG inspection team a couple of times looking at the suicide prevention program. Here's the thing. So I'm a commander and I do everything that I'm supposed to do. We do all our training, right? We do everything. I'm there for my soldiers. I make myself available. I'm there. Let's say the soldier transfers in, he's got issues and problems, but his medical records are lacking. Or because of the stigma associated with getting help in the military, he goes outside the network, right? So this commander has an interview with the kid. He's good about hiding whatever. And let's say that he attempts suicide or complete suicide. What's the first thing the Army's going to say when they come to see with that commander? Are they going to say, oh, well, tell us what happened with your side of the story? No, they're going to ask you, well, what did you do fucking wrong? I didn't do anything fucking wrong. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And so now you got these commanders out there who are commanding by a knee-jerk reaction or whatever else is going on, and they don't want to go that extra step. What we're finding out is nowadays commanders will support you going and getting help, and most of them will. 90% of them will or more. But what we're seeing now is it's kind of shifted from 2017 to now is there's a lot of self-signal with soldiers, once again, not wanting to let the team down or stand up and say. And another issue is we're short of, clinical social workers, inside the Army, just like we are nationwide. And, we got MFlex and other areas out there that soldiers can go and ask for help. But I thought also, one thing to talk about that with Veterans Trash Talk or what we're talking about today or anything, right? We just got to reduce the stigma and knowing that it's okay. That's the biggest problem with going on nowadays is the stigma associated with getting help. I was a W-2 when it happened. I made to the rank of W-4, and I'll talk about later why I didn't make W-5. I've never publicly spoke about that, but I'm going to today because I'm officially fucking out of the military, so I can open my fucking mouth about it. And I'm going to
Amen.
So, but well, if you want to talk about it right now, I'll talk about it right now.
And the words
Cliff,
of Dane
I got
Cook, it's a beautiful use
real
of the
quick.
word fuck. It really is. You really sprinkle it in there nice.
No, I try.
It's like Pacino.
Hey, Cliff, I got a question before we start talking about it. Because like Nick said, there are a lot of times where people will get on the Facebook page and put their issues out there and other people will help them. But then there are a lot of people, like we say, like, if, call somebody, do something, whatever. And it, at that point, like, did you think that there was anybody that was willing to listen, and would you have called? First question, and second question is, if you had made that call to anybody, is there anything that anybody could have done that would have talked you off of or had you go get help? if you had made that call to anybody, what would you, as a suicide survivor, what would you, looking back, suggest for people that are that first call?
Yeah. So, and I get asked this quite a bit, what was I thinking at that time, right? When I decided I didn't want to live no more. And I simply say this is, first of all, I didn't understand what was going on with me, right? When you have PTSD and you're having those thoughts, dreams, and feelings, and those things keep coming back, sometimes you just don't fully understand. You understand what caused it, but you don't understand why your body's reacting this way to it, why your mind's acting this way to it. And that became very stressful. And so that became stress in my life, but also my family kept trying to help me. And I couldn't explain to them what was going on with me for them to be able to help me, right? And so I just didn't want to talk to them anymore because I got tired of trying to explain it. And then I had the stress at work. And then the stress in my mind of not being able to find anybody alive, even though I knew, nobody would have survived, right? Past the initial explosion and getting out. But in my mind, I still wanted to try to find that one person and save their life. And it just didn't happen. And so all that came together, and they call it a coupling effect, right? When that happens, it all comes together in couples. And the thought of calling somebody that night never entered my mind. I did not. I got a good friend of mine. We've been friends for 30 years. We're very close now. But calling somebody that night never entered my mind.
Why do you think that is, Cliff?
Because I was fucking done.
He was done and he was just focused on the end result.
We were together, like I said, we were all in the same room this weekend and had quite a bit of conversations. And Nick actually mentioned something about that. And I can't remember the specific person, and I wouldn't violate their privacy anyways. But Nick said to Dave, and we were talking about it, if they're gonna do it, man, they're gonna do it. Unless you're gonna handcuff them and hog tie them. If somebody has decided, but the reason why is to not sit there and be like, yeah, we should have done this, we should have done this, we should have. If somebody's will is that strong, you can't stop them. You just got to hope they see some clarity and realize it's not.
Yeah, and that's and I think that's what Cliff is hitting on. That's where the stigma from the very beginning needs to change, so it never gets to that point. Because when you're at that point and the stigma's jacked up, you're not going to seek help because you're too scared to let anybody down. It's just whatever. You're going to reach that point.
It's not that you're scared.
Correct.
You've already made the decision because
you've made that decision.
At that point is closed.
And I would say that
at the very beginning, when those feelings start to come, you need to be able to say, "Hey, I'm going to go seek help because it's okay to not be okay," like you just said.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get help. But yeah, once you're up there, once you're on top of that mountain and ready to rock and roll,
But I will tell you that if I had completed and you asked my family, but if they ever thought that would happen, because all the normal signs that they say people does before they complete suicide, I did none of that.
None of that. Yeah.
None of that.
They teach us all that, giving away all your stuff.
Giving away things, being extra nice or this, that, or the other. I did none of that.
Some people, it's not that deep of a thought. Like you're not planning out anything else because you're planning to do this.
Yeah.
Type thing.
And I tell people all the time that because they asked me, what did you think when you woke up in the hospital? Were you disappointed? This and that. And I was scared. Yeah. Because I realized what I just fucking did. And that wasn't me. Right. So that fucking scared me. And I'm a big enough man to admit to it. And so that started changing my way of thinking about my recovery, and how I was going to do things. And then as it morphed into me doing my speaking events and talking about it, I only know how to be honest, right? So when I do my speaking events, I laugh, I cry, I talk about certain things that's gone on in my life that could happen to anybody here listening today. And I just want to kind of convey to them that there's better ways to deal with things, right? And there's multiple ways to deal with it. And the more that you have tools in your toolbox, right, to fix different shit. I was aviation maintenance for a long time. We got tools to fix all kinds of shit. The more tools I got in my box, Veterans Trash Talk is a good tool, right? I might be having a day or bad day or just want to listen to other veterans or get on and ask questions while we're doing it. That's just a tool that you can have to kind of help you get through that day or maybe refocus or listen to somebody to Cliff Bauman's story. Man, that's pretty fucked up. But yeah, he went through it all right. He's kind of an okay dude. Maybe I can continue on with my life and find out something that's a little bit better or get the nuts to call that buddy like I didn't do. Don't be like me and don't pick up the phone and call. Because I tell you what, life is great. And when you learn to relive life and re-enjoy it, it's the most beautiful thing ever.
I think the most important part of that sentence, what I took was when you relearn.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to unprogram what's been programmed in there, and all of a sudden you have that awakening where it's like, holy shit, this doesn't have to hurt. Like, I can actually look forward to something that's sustainable and enjoy myurself. That's an incredible feeling.
It's
That's an
okay
incredible
to have it
feeling.
hurt too. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
No, and then we always say it. We say it to everybody that, you know, again, everybody wants to make a direct impact, where some people do, like, right away. And I'm like, no, look, like, so when people who are scared to come on the show, which you weren't, but some people were, you know, like what they were going to,
I was drunk last night, so nervous about it.
like what they were going to say. And, you know, and I'm like, no, you might, dude, if you help one person, and, you know, it might not be today. It could be somebody who stumbles upon our stuff a year from now. Right. And they watch it and go, yeah.
It's funny you say that, Nick, because Rob Balin just commented. He said, "Thanks for sharing, Chief. It really helps." Like,
there you go.
You know,
yeah,
absolutely, Rob.
There's a guy in Gruntworks who had, you know, a tough time talking to, you know, and he's reminiscent about some of the stuff that, you know, went wrong with him. And, you know, there could be 100 people watching his comments going, yeah, you know, and
I've been there.
So yeah, Buddy has to go. Buddy, you want to say bye before you walk away? It looked like you have to go to the bathroom real bad.
He's muted right now. He didn't realize it.
Yeah. I had to unmute. No, I got to go buy stuff for my kid's birthday party. The one thing I do want to say is, you know, it like we were talking about earlier, Cliff, when we talked about making that phone call. Once you've made the decision, that phone call is harder to make, almost impossible to make, right?
It is.
It's when you start having those feelings and start going through that, like you start down those, that you need to make the phone call.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I said. We got to get to people, like you're saying, at that point, because once you go past that point, there's no return.
Because it's harder to treat a disease that's ravished you already. You know, when you got the sniffles, is the time to come up on the net. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not when you've got, you know, you're on a defibrillator or whatever.
Right.
The other thing that was to share, you were talking about flashbacks earlier. And I was curious. For me, it smells. Fucking smells, man. Like I remember being in Vegas once, and I got a whiff of raw desert sewage, and like right then I was back on patrol in Iraq and had to I was like, hey, we need to go like somewhere other than here. Yeah. Smells bring me back. Like,
that is the strongest sense type of memory.
Yeah. And I would tell you that smells are big for me too, being there, but also being in Iraq also. You know, porta potties. I won't fucking go in a porta potty.
Well, we burned our own shit and trash, and it was right next to our room. So, I mean, that smell, you bring a new set of nostrils with you to Patrol Base Olson, because you're going to burn the first ones.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to say,
thankfully, I was a sergeant at the time.
Awesome.
You did all that shit, Joe.
It was super awesome meeting you. Great show,
nice
guys.
Meeting you. Take care. Hey, go get your kid's birthday taken care of.
Take care of your
later.
All
right, buddy.
So yeah, those of you watching, Buddy's going to leave that screen up there. He could have put like a blow up doll in there or something. That's probably what I would have done. But yeah, we can look at that. Let's look at that. Put that in the screen.
Or a picture of his full frontal and Crocs when he was trying to pretend to be Brett Favre.
Some Iraqi helmet. Don't worry, he doesn't need it anymore.
He won't be needing that.
Yeah. My book of rules have gotten a little bit shorter as some of these guys have started to talk a little bit more, get a little more confident, like Joe. You know, read some essays and haikus, so I don't have to really carry the show anymore. But you know, again, we all have different faces. We all have different strengths. We all have weaknesses. And, you know, some of my strengths that, you know, other people have told me that I've recognized is I'm the guy that you come to if you want somebody to tell you how the hell you're going to get over it. Right. Like I'm not the guy you come to be like, yeah, Nick's going to be the guy that says, yeah, you should really feel sorry for yourself right now. Right. No, again, that's partially a weakness of mine. So it's like, you know, it just is. So, but when I say things, people are like, well, did I say anything wrong to you? Like when I said that you needed to, you know, stop doing that and do that. Right. Did I say anything wrong to you? Well, no, I'm sorry that I didn't empathize with you because I don't think that does any good for me. So then it's hard for me to do it for you. And then obviously, you know, as you learn and you get more mature, sometimes you know, you get over it. But I got a little triggered right about as we entered our hat into this arena of, the veteran, businesses and, the t-shirts, the coffees, the podcasts.
I got a story about your t-shirt too. Yeah, I'll tell you in a little bit.
Yeah. And, I came up with that t-shirt about quit being a triggered pansy. I that the way I say it, and Dave, we always tell people, like, if you wear that shirt out in public, someone's automatically going to make an assumption about you politically.
Yep.
And it's like,
so
the shirt is not political.
Right.
It's everybody gets triggered, whether it's a PTSD trigger, whether it's a trigger with a bias, whether it's a trigger with a different kind of emotion. Like how you're, and MRT teaches this, like, how you're responding to that emotion. All right. Is it building people up and being productive? All right. Or is it destroying people down and your life?
Right.
Right. Like, and then you're going to find as many people around you that will support that bias. And now you're stuck, kind of like what Buddy was talking about earlier. Is like, once you start labeling yourself right away, now you're finding groups with that label. And then when that group abandons you, you're finding another group with a different label, right? You're trying to find some form of acceptance. Now, what I take,
that's human nature, right?
Right. And so what I take to heart at VTT, especially when, on LinkedIn, when I'm talking to other professionals, right? And a lot of them are always like, you guys do this for free? It's like, well, yeah. It's like, why wouldn't we? All right. However, we are still an LLC, right? Because our visions and our dreams of what VTT can accomplish only get bigger with money. Right. Yeah. And it's like, and it's okay if we never make that money, because we'll keep doing this. It's okay if it's fine. Right. So what I do get upset about, though, is when you already start to see the people that just want to use you.
Yeah.
And not for the mission. Right. But, and so again, when we got kind of popular and, you found out, Cliff, and I'm like, hey, we can't schedule it for like at least another month. Like a month and a half.
And my thinking sure took him almost immediately because it's me. But
right,
that's just a warrant officer me.
Exactly. Well, that
we didn't know they existed. We didn't know warrant officers existed.
We pop up every now and then. We come out of hibernation.
That being said, is just like what we just did with the movie with Sam and 22 Unforgotten Soldier, we believe in how he's portraying the message. We believe in how he's bringing attention to issues. So when he asks us if we can do something, like especially 2 active duty guys, another guy with family, just a brand new baby and family and moves. Yeah. Hey, can you guys get to New Orleans for 2 days?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. We'll figure it out. All right. We will figure out a way to help you.
Yeah.
Right. And figure out a way that we can, be a part of what's going on. And so I do like this. Since VTT's grown and getting to talk to more professionals, but then also finding out the people that, I don't want to make the assumptions about them, but when you start spamming me for like donations and you want money from us, when you stood us up on a trash talk hour, right? Because all of a sudden you were too busy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I probably would have controlled the spam button on your LinkedIn, buddy. And I'm pretty sure and like I said, I don't call you out by name because, maybe you're watching, maybe you're not. I know some of your friends are, or I know some of your friends are watching this because like we've talked.
But that's the nature of the business, right? When you get into this, when you decide to do this, and that when you're going to go, there's going to be jealousy. There's going to be other things that go on. You have to learn how to deal with it, right? And so you decide on what is the best for Veterans Trash Talk. And then you move forward with those decisions. That's all you can do, right?
Right. So the Book of Earl message today, I believe it's like, chapter 4, verse 10. All right. You got to go find it. You got to go read it in there. And I've talked to it with these guys before, and we've mentioned it. I don't know if we really mentioned it on a show, but if you can't help, it's okay to say you can't help. If you can't be there for somebody, don't lie to them and say, I'll be there whenever you need me.
Yeah. And then don't be there.
No, right. And then there's people that I talk to that I go, look, man, I was like, I've already done everything I'm going to do with you. I'll be here to text you, but I'm not talking to you on the phone right now because I don't feel like you're taking my advice seriously. So therefore, I don't want to talk about it with you anymore. Like I'll text.
That makes it tough.
Yeah. Like I'll text with you. Right. But I honestly don't have the time right now because I don't think you bought into what we're doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'll say to the person, whatever. But again, you just like running into the people that shows you that, you know what? Like,
Respect's a two-way street.
Yeah, thank you for showing me this, and thank you that you did stand us up, because we might have boosted somebody who's not doing the right thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you look at it like I look at it that way. It's like, they just showed.
Also, sometimes, Nick, when you draw that line, support has become enablement, and
Right,
and you realize, like, I've given you every single avenue. I've put all the irons in the fire for you, and if you don't take the next step, I'm done. I'm 41 years old. I got a 9-month-old, a 6-year-old, and a 10-year-old, and I work 10, 11, 12-hour days. If you're disrespecting my time, then I'm done with it. You got to put the work in, and if you put the work in, we're exactly who we say we are.
We 100% are who we say we are. And let me hit on what Nick just said real quick. Like, we're not fucking clout chasers. Like, what people need to realize, this is our fucking therapy as well. Like, we talk about it every single time. Saturday morning is one, like Nick says it all the time, is one of the best days I look forward to. Coming on here Saturday and talking to each other, unwrapping, talking about some of the shit that, we've witnessed, some of the shit that we've gone through. This is our fucking therapy. And by the way, along the line, if we can save a life, we're fucking all about it. Like, we don't give a fuck about clout, And we get that a lot. Nick, I think you know who I'm talking about as well. Was supposed to promote one of our things and never did. Like, again, it's clout. It's clout.
So that's like what I it hasn't happened yet, and I fear that I'm sure it will, because nothing's ever certain. But I fear the day that we put somebody on here and we promote something that turns up to be really shitty, right? Yeah. And it's like
it'll happen.
It hasn't happened yet, but
eventually it will.
Yeah, eventually somebody's going to be like, damn it, and then we got to come out and say something. Just like,
I hope it never does happen.
Exactly. But you never know. It's just, and so I think that our purpose, and our mission tends to draw people that aren't going to do that, and that really want to be a part of the solution. And again, Cliff, I really appreciate you coming on, and more people that just hear it and whatever. Again, like Dave said, I'll echo it. Like, I really don't care if you like what we talk about.
Yeah, like, I don't. That's why I'm on here.
Everybody's.
You wanted to help us out and put some better content on. So we appreciate
more family friendly content.
May I caveat off your your evaluation?
Yeah, and I just got subbed in to coach again, so I gotta leave here in about 10.
Yep, I gotta rock and roll. My wife's birthday tomorrow. I still gotta get some stuff. I'm running late.
Yeah.
Of course you would be, Joe.
As always. But Cliff, the quality that I see that stands out the most that I'll remember is you talk like we do. Don't ever let somebody, and I know you won't, I can tell by the type of person you are, but people that say, hey, can you clean it up? Like, no, man, like you'll get veterans' attention with dropping an F-bomb every once in a while, because you're not doing it for attention. You're passionate about what you do, and you deliver it in a cadence like a veteran would. So it rings true, and you get people, you had me hanging on to each word. So keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're really good at it.
A good storyteller. I think it's very important. One thing, I alluded to, and I know you guys got to go, but I want to talk about this because I think it's important. Why did Cliff Bauman retire 31 August? I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about that right now.
Nice.
And kind of caveats to what you were talking about, Nick, right? So as you go out and do speaking events, you get more popular, people become jealous, become envious of you, and these kinds of things. I tell my story of hope solely to help anybody out there who's having issues and problems. I will pay for my own way to go to a speaking event if somebody doesn't have money to go and speak, because I think it's that important. And I'll do that. And I've done that. I don't make money on my speaking events. I can charge 4 times more than what I do, but I just charge my travel expenses and maybe a couple $100 more, and that's it. Because I think our mission and what we do is that important. The Able channel filmed a documentary on me, and they're going to release it this year. You actually go on their website now and go out and look at it. It's theablechannel.com.
The Able channel, like ABLE,
the Able channel. Yep. They did a series called Surviving Suicide. I'm the first series that they did. There's 6 episodes. It's different people with different things in their life, not solely military related. What Able channel is going to do and how they look at mental health, I think is really going to help a lot of people. And I believe in their mission, just like I believe in Veterans Trash Talk mission. But during the filming of this, where I work at National Guard Bureau, they're extremely difficult through the whole process, extremely difficult. we got permission to film in the building. They show up, we start filming, they shut us down, kick us out of the building. So I told Life is My Movie, who was filming for the Able channel. I just told him, well, we'll just film fucking elsewhere, right? So I gave that up. So fast forward, they were going to do a soft release of my documentary. And the Guard Bureau had originally agreed to show it on all the social media, the Facebook. So they made all these changes to it on their demand, right? You got to do this, this, and this. And so Able Channel went back to Life is My Movie, and they went in, they made all these corrections and did all these things because that's what they needed to do to get a show. So they released it on Veterans Day in 2020. 2 weeks later, I get notice that I was refratted. If anybody doesn't know what refrat means, that means, hey, congratulations, you're no longer going to be in the military. I was number 1 on the promotion list at CW5. I was number 1 on my OERs. I was in a CW5 slot. Now, that's the biggest fuck you can get from anybody in your goddamn life. And I will tell you, it fucked with me hard. If there was anything that was ever going to put me down that road of hurting myself again, that damn near did it. Because that's something I never saw coming. And you can put whatever you want to put down on why that was. But I believe everything happens for a reason, right? Even if I don't believe it. So I believe in one way or another, God was saying, you're done with the military, you know? Yep. But I do know there were people inside of that building that were jealous of me of what I was doing, that they didn't think I need to be doing that because of their own biases. We have that stigma. It happens all the time. That's fine. I'll take that hit, whatever. It's not going to affect me. I'm going to go on. I've done more speaking events this year because I'm no longer tethered by the military. I was difficult going through approval for PA to go out and do the speaking events and things like that. And even though one PA officer may support you, but if you're going to go over here and you have a different PA officer, then it becomes more difficult. I don't have to deal with that now. I don't have to sugarcoat stuff. I don't have to not say things. I don't have to tell somebody, no, I can't do that. I don't have to do any of that anymore. So I can be open and free and talk about anything. But I will tell you that my retirement process has been extremely difficult. I still have not received retirement pay, and some things are going on there, and I'll probably have to wind up doing it congressionally, even though I don't want to. And so it's just something that you fight and go on that never should have happened. But it's not going to keep me from doing what I do, right? I'm going to continue to tell my story of hope. I'm going to continue to fight the stigma associated with people asking for help.
Amen.
And because I don't know how to do anything any different. And I say all that for this. You know, if you have a fucked up situation happen to you, find the positive on it and move on, right? I can't dwell on that no more because it's fucking over, right? It's over, right? It ain't never going to happen. It's not going to do me no good to dwell on it. So you know what? I just put the shit away, throw it in a box, and just move on and keep moving forward. You know, and I just tell anybody out there that if you want to, you know, learn more about me and what I do, you go out to my website at, cliffordballman.com. I do all my postings out there, and you can also find me on Facebook or Instagram. But it is an important fight, and I want to end with this, and I say this at the end of all my speaking events. For one, it's okay not to be okay. 9 times out of 10, Cliff Ballman's a happy-go-lucky guy, and I have a lot of fun, and I enjoy life. But there's sometimes where I don't. But if you're in a bad situation, and I get it, if you're in that room and it's dark and you're having that drink, or you're got that gun sitting on the table, or you're having those thoughts run in your head, I just want you to think about this for a second. Even if you don't think you are, you're important to somebody, and they love you and they want you here tomorrow. Don't be like me and pick up that phone and give them a fucking call and just give them that chance to save your life.
Hey, that's awesome, because suicide doesn't take the pain away; it passes it on to somebody else. Like we always say.
Honestly, in that moment, knowing that there's somebody out there whose world, and this is a selfish thing, because in that moment you are thinking about your own pain. But in that moment, you think about the fact that there's somebody out there whose world will be leveled.
Like Chief just said, somebody who loves you, somebody who needs you, somebody who cares about you. All of a sudden,
it takes you a step back, because a lot of times people think they're helping everybody by ending it. And if they know you're going to devastate somebody you love, that is sometimes enough to get them off the ledge.
Well, they say roughly every 42 seconds, somebody completes suicide, and every 43 seconds for the rest of their life, somebody wishes they could have done something different.
Shit.
I love it.
That's a
Some
crazy
of my
stat.
favorite stuff
Yeah.
we've ever talked about. Is beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And then, Cliff, if you ever want to, come back on the show and be a guest
absolutely,
host,
anytime.
Yeah.
we'd love
You
to
can
have
carry.
you.
You can carry a tune, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, and hey, if you guys need anything, I advertise you guys stuff on my website. I will continue to do that. Your podcast and everything, but what Lee and Leah does, I think it's important. But along with them, with their Trash Talk Mondays, I got some people that I've known throughout the field, and if I think they're good and should be on your show, I'll be absolutely to pass them on because it's just one team, one fight.
Yep.
And we all
Damn right.
It's gonna take multiple heads to get this across, and
The numbers
the more we
game.
get the word out there, and the more we get people to think about suicide and mental health and PTS differently, the more lives that we can all save and move forward and go on and talk about something else like football or.
Yeah. Hey,
UFC.
speaking of that, Michigan's got a shot to pull this out. But before we let Dave
Yeah, I'm
close this
watching
out, Cliff, tell us that T-shirt story you're gonna tell us real quick, and then Dave can.
Oh
close
yeah.
this out.
So I did the show with Lee and Leah, right? So they sent me a free Veterans Trash Talk T-shirt. My youngest son, my oldest did Taekwondo. He was a second degree belt. He actually trained at Junri dojo up in Falls Church. Junri's the father of Taekwondo. We have since now moved, farther south in Manassas. And my youngest one, 7, wanted to start Taekwondo. And so I don't normally stay inside the dojo. I just stand outside and look through the window because it's kind of hot and I don't want to wear my mask. And so a guy walks out and he's like, "Hey, Veterans Trash Talk, what's that? That seems like a pretty cool show or something." He had no military background or nothing. And so I spent the next 30 minutes telling about what you guys do and what he did. And I just thought it was kind of funny that, just a random guy who, just saw my T-shirt and it sparked up a conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
great, man.
I'm going to have to order a couple of more and, wear them when I.
Which
when I
shirt
go
was
out
it,
doing.
Cliff?
Yeah, what shirt was it?
It just says Veterans Trash Talk and it has you guys' symbol on the front. It was very simple.
Yeah,
It was
nice.
black.
Oh, the baseball
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Like, where we're not trying to make shirts to be millionaires. We're trying to make shirts for people that what's the dumpster fire all about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And we tell you about it,
Yeah.
like, oh, what kind of gun is that on your chest? Oh, it's a 240, like whatever,
Right.
so quit being a triggered pansy, it's a conversation starter. So yeah, that's awesome that worked that way. Dave, what you got?
Yeah, no, Cliff, hey, amazing time. The chat, again, there's another person commenting on here saying this episode has helped me a hell of a lot. Thanks, Chief, and all you guys. Love you, brothers. So again, this is what it's all about. And I think what we need to take from it, it's okay not to be okay. Reach out to your community, reach out to your brothers and sisters to your left and right, because we all care about you. Thanks for coming on. Loved your story.
Anytime.
Thanks for really unwrapping, as I call it, just talking about where you were.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing now for our brothers and sisters that need it the most. So hell of a guest, Chief. You need to come on again and do this with us.
Yeah.
Anytime, just
Don't
let me
make
know.
this
I'll
the
fit you
last
in my
time,
schedule.
brother. You're
absolutely.
needed.
And then for anybody that's watching, make sure you go check out veterantrashtalk.com. That's our website. And it has all the links to everything. All right. Shop.veterantrashtalk.com has all of our merch and our famous button here. Okay.
I can get one of those.
Yes.
Break it down, Barney.
There you go. And then remember, part of our proceeds go to stop soldier suicide. Okay. Everybody have a wonderful Saturday. We'll catch you next week. We're out.
Take care, everybody. God bless.
Where do we turn to, veteran trash talk? Where do we turn to, veteran trash talk? Where do we turn to, veteran trash talk? Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises bravely every morning. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises bravely every morning. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises bravely every morning. That's what we do in Veteran Trash Talk. That's what we do in Veteran Trash Talk. That's what we do in Veteran Trash Talk bravely every morning.